Sounds great.
Sure. Yeah, we love coming to this area. We our first chance to play down here was last June. We played the Toe Down Festival, which was just a riot up in Green Mountain, and we were able to play One World Brewing the night before. So we're looking forward to getting back there on Saturday. We heard that this is usually a Bob Dylan hour, and we're all big Bob Dylan fans, so we thought we'd try our hand at a Dylan tune here.
having fun working Fairchild.
First try.
Awesome. But when is Quinn going to get here? I mean,
Nobody knows.
it could get a lot better. That's what I'm waiting on. It's supposed to get better when Quinn comes around.
Yep.
Right. Well, right. The Buffalo Bills have been waiting for Quinn for a long time. To get back to that one.
Yeah. Tell us about how you choose the songs that you put on, the songs we didn't write, for one thing. How do you pick the songs that you like to cover?
We go back to like all of our tastes, the things we grew up with. What's really cool is the three of us have introduced each other to different styles of music, and so then it just morphed together, and we all love all those songs, going from reggae to Grateful Dead, except the Harry Styles song my daughter picked for us to do.
I was going to ask, because one of these things is not like the other.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but we have so much fun playing it. We don't do it completely different, but.
It's the Stevie Wonder song as well. We just tried it out, and not every song works in an instrumental format, but when they work, it's just so much fun to do.
For all of the folks that can't see you, let's talk a little bit about the gear and the instruments. You've got the organ and the bass and another keyboard over here, Joe.
Yeah, my setup's been growing since I was 19 years old. So there's a story. We would take another whole hour to tell that story. But yeah, I started out just with the organ, and these top two keyboards on top of the organ, if you're not watching, these are both MIDI controllers that are attached to my MacBook. So I've got sounds I use. All the bass sounds you hear are coming from software that I have in my MacBook. A lot of the synthesizer sounds I use are coming from there as well. This Hammond organ is just used for organ, and then I've got a Yamaha piano that I use just for piano. And I grew up playing organ and piano, and that's piano primarily, but that's what I use. But if you see us another year from now, it'll be one more layer higher, and we'll need a bigger van, and it keeps happening that way. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Dave, you got a beautiful Gibson guitar and a fairly modest pedal board, not too too ostentatious or anything.
That's another one that's been. It's another example of gear growth, gear acquisition over the years. When we started, I had taken I've been a professional musician for 30 some years, but my work primarily, at least, especially for the first 25 of those years, was, and still is, acoustic music, and going into schools doing music programs with kids. So that's kind of my day job. So I spent a lot of years playing traditional music, folk music, bluegrass, that kind of stuff. And then literally 6 years ago, we were having a 50th birthday party for my wife, and we had hired a 4-piece rock and roll band that she really liked. And at the last minute, the guitar player couldn't do the gig. And so they called me and they said, "We think we're going to have to cancel. We can't find anybody to fill in." So I said, "Well, I have this old Stratocaster in my closet that I haven't played in a long, long time, but maybe I'll dust it off and I'll fill in for the guy." So I did that. That was April of 2018, and it just totally rekindled my interest in playing electric music, which I had basically not done in 25 years. So I still had this amp I bought this amp in the 80s. It's a 1965 Fender Deluxe Reverb, which now go for a lot of money. I bought it for $200 back then. And the guitar is definitely much newer to me. I bought this about 4 years ago. It's a Gibson SG right off the shelf. And the pedals, I started with 1 or 2, and now there's probably about 8. But they all do something different.
Yeah, that's fairly economical. Really.
They're all very necessary, just like my keyboards. Yeah.
And the drums, this is the house kit. I don't know. Yeah. Do you have any comments about our drums?
They sound great. I have a brand new Tama Star Classic, and it's really hard to not play on my own drums. You have to get acclimated with it and, get used to it right away. It's like kissing a different girl than my wife, It's like, it's like you're...
But Michelle, he doesn't do that.
Practice makes perfect, but yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, but this kit's excellent. I love
it.
Yeah.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of your take on maybe the broad view of what the music, either jam music in general or the type of music that you made more towards the time when these songs were new that you're covering versus now, some decades later? Do you have any observations about how the music has progressed? You know, like any sort of anecdotes or observations.
That's a hard one. I think I've always been sort of mired in the music that I grew up with was 70s music. You know, Boston was the first album that I bought, the first Boston album, and then, you know, listening to the Allman Brothers and then meeting these guys and playing Grateful Dead and those types of things. And I've avoided sort of evolutions in pop music. And I have two daughters that'll be 22 and 21 coming up on their birthdays here. And they're both into live music. My younger daughter, particularly though, just got into the jam scene about a year and a half ago. And that's a whole story. But I've been taking her to shows. So getting out to see a lot of bands in a lot of different genres, but her favorite is the jam genre, and like seeing other bands. And typically, I wouldn't necessarily go out and see concerts because I'd just be home either practicing or sleeping because in between tours. But with her, I get out and I see a lot of shows, and it's great to see bands, I guess particularly in the jam scene, keeping older music alive. And they're covering Pink Floyd, and they're covering, you know, I mean, I don't want to pick a genre, but they're covering all different kinds of things. So it's hard to, I can't really speak to an evolution, but like I like to see younger musicians today keeping older music alive, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter's always going to my wife and I. She's like, "You're so lucky you grew up in the '70s," because I mean, it's all her favorite music. I mean, she loves newer stuff. You know, what's her name, Billie Eilish.
Oh, like yeah, okay, Billie Eilish.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And Harry, and what we did with Harry, we made a jam band. So if y'all want to check it out, it's kind of cool. You know.
Does anybody ever miss the reference for the band name?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can tell exactly how old somebody is by whether they get the band name or not, you know. So we get a lot of younger people. We play for wonderful audiences of a really wide range of ages, you know, from young hippie kids at sweaty music festivals to we've played for some sit-down sort of audiences at art centers and things like that, and everything in between. But our typical sweet spot is sort of clubs where everybody's together and boogieing. What was the question?
Yeah, who doesn't get the Oregon Fairchild
okay.
reference?
So, right. Lots of younger people will come up and be like, yeah, you guys are awesome. So what does that name mean, you know? So, yeah. So for anybody who's not familiar with Morgan Fairchild, when we started this group, which was, you know, like we've said about 5 and a half years ago, we wanted to get the word Oregon into the name of the band because it's a very Oregon-centric operation. And so our first idea was to call it Oregon Freeman, after the actor, only to discover that name is already taken by a great band from L.A. called Oregon Freeman. So next on our list was Oregon Fairchild, named after Morgan Fairchild. So if you're under the age of, say, 45, she was someone we all had posters of, let us say, in our youth.
There's another name that's fine, Oregon Donor.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of them. But we actually, if you want to go to our website or YouTube, there's a video of the real Morgan Fairchild shouting out Oregon Fairchild. That it showed up as a DM on our Facebook page about 3 years ago. A friend of ours, it turns out, hired her to do a shout out to us. So it's her congratulating us on winning that award and telling us that if we ever make it out to LA, she wants to jam with us.
All I know is Morgan Fairchild said my name, so I was super excited.
That's great. We would love to see this happen next, by the way.
Oh, as would we.
Yeah, we'll work on that.